Okay, we're live now. Good evening and welcome to the council meeting of March 25th, 2024. Tonight's meeting is starting early to ensure that council and citizens may attend the fire department's ratepayer meeting at the Kentville Volunteer Fire Department at 7 p.m. The decisions made at that meeting may affect the town of Kentville tax rate. This council meeting will adjourn or recess at the will of council no later than 6:45 p.m. to attend the ratepayers meeting. We are very fortunate this evening to be joined by our sign language interpreters. Please welcome Nicole Vino and Peg DiCarlo. The meeting is being live streamed on Town of Kentville YouTube channel, and the most up-to-date meeting package is on the Town of Kentville website. This meeting is called to order. Have all of the councillors received and reviewed their meeting package? Does any member of council have information pertaining to a matter before this council which has not been publicly circulated? Are there any conflict of interest issues we should be aware of before the meeting commences? Council has received regrets from Councillor Maxwell, and I note that we have quorum. We have been provided with a proposed agenda, and there are a few changes. So based on our timing tonight, we will actually move new business up to item number 5, and that will make our recommendations and reports item number 6, so that if we have to recess or adjourn, those are all provided in your package and you can read them at your leisure. So we have that. We also have a change under new business, and we are moving the Regional Sewer Committee budget review up to number A, and that will change those lines. And then based on our capital budget meeting, item 5, new business 5E, will be first reading of deed transfer tax. And there is no in-camera this evening. That legal was with regards to a piece of correspondence that we got, and we will not go into an in-camera for a piece of correspondence. So, CAO, did you have any other changes?
No, I don't, Your
Okay,
Worship.
thank you, Council. All right, I would take a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please. Councillor Zabian, thank you. Councillor Huntley, thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. All right, you have the minutes of the February 26, 2024 council meeting distributed for your review. If there are no changes, the minutes are approved as distributed. If there are changes, the recording secretary will annotate. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. Under Section 4, business arising from the minutes, it's the Municipal Planning Strategy Amendment, second reading. And under motion carried, it talks about the councillors who voted in favor of this motion. And then it talks about councillors who voted in favor of this motion, which was Gerard. So I don't know if Gerard voted in favor of it or not, or I just wasn't sure.
You voted against.
You did, okay.
Yep.
So that we're just a wording in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Recording secretary, you have that? Yep. All right. No other changes? All right, this moves us on to our recommendations, and Deputy Mayor, you are reading our recommendations from the March 11th CAC meeting.
Thank you, Worship. We will start with the low income tax exemption. At the March 11th, 2024 meeting of CAC, Director Wanda Matthews presented the calculations for the proposed low-income tax exception for 2024-2025. She explained the changes in the threshold levels from the previous years to accommodate residents facing financial stress in this difficult economic period. Council Advisory Committee recommends that Council approve the low-income tax exemption for the 2024-2025 year end, and further that the exception amount be set between $385 to $640, and further that the income ceiling be set at $31,732, and further that the deadline for this application be June 28th, 2024. I so move.
Thank you. In a second, Councillor Zabian, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the low income tax exemption for 24-25 year, and further that the exemption amount be set between $385 and $640, and further that the income ceiling be set at $31,732, and further that the deadline for application be June 28th, 2024. Is there any discussion on this matter? There being no discussion, are you ready for the question? The question is that council approve the low income tax exemption for 24-25, and further that the exemption amount be set to $385 to $640, and further that the income ceiling be set at $31,732, and further that the deadline for the application be June 28th, 2024. Voting is now open. Sorry. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Second recommendation is with regards to the Cornwallis Street sign. At the March 11th, 2024 meeting of CAC, Deputy Clerk Jennifer West presented the report on the loan of the Cornwallis Street sign to the Kentville Historical Society. Council requested that the organizing committee prepare the wording to accompany the sign, and members declined this request. Staff prepared the wording to reflect the name change and reconciliation process. CAC recommends that council approve the recommended wording to accompany the Cornwallis Street sign being loaned to the Kentville Historical Society. I so move.
Second? Deputy, Councillor Zabian, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the recommended wording to accompany the Cornwallis Street sign being loaned to the Kentville Historical Society. Is there any discussion on this matter? There being no discussion, are you ready for the question? The question is that council approve the recommended wording to accompany the Cornwallis Street sign being loaned to the Kentville Historical Society. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. So we're moving our councillor reports to the end of the meeting if we have time. So this moves us on to new business, and our first order of new business is with regards to the regional sewer. And Deputy Mayor, that's you are our member on that committee.
Thank you, Worship. This might seem a little bit long, but I'll go through it as quickly as I can. So this is with regards to the regional sewer operating budget approval and capital, actually. So the town of Kentville is one of 4 partners in the Kings Regional Sewer, which includes 2 other municipalities. The owner and manager, the municipality of the County of Kings, as well as the village of New Minas. One private industry, PepsiCo Canada, situated in New Minas, that operates the Frito-Lay chip plant, is also a partner in the regional sewer system. So just a little bit about the background. The 4 partners begin budget meetings typically early in their calendar year, with proposed operating and capital budgets prepared and presented to the committee by the County of Kings finance and ops staff, which upon review and input from the partners is typically approved in March, so that recommendations can go to the individual partners, council, commissioner, board for approval and acceptance of the new budget. In the 2024-2025, there's an overall 14.4 increase proposed over last year's operating budget, with the town of Kentville's increase set at 15.2% or $135,800. The County of Kings and PepsiCo partner contributions are proposed to increase 20.6% and 25.8% respectively, and the village of New Minas shows only a 1.1% increase because they have utilized their gas tax to fund proposed regional capital projects to help offset an increase that would have been similar to Kentville's percentage increase. Maintenance expenditures in the 2023-2024 fiscal year are forecasted to finish $242,500 over budget, due mostly to the numerous force main breaks along the Harvest Moon Trail between Klondike and Eves Hollow. This section of force main is scheduled to be replaced this construction season with an estimated capital cost of $6,171,500, with up to 50% funding jointly applied for under the Municipal Capital Growth Program. Since the force main replacement won't be completed until late summer or the fall of 2024, there is a one-time maintenance budget line of $90,000 to offset additional breaks that may occur during that period. CapEx are financed through the operating budget through long-term debt and funding opportunities, with the town's proposed capital contribution for 2024-2025 expected to be $313,100 and increase by 15% each year over the ensuing several years to fund capital upgrades and finance these large debentures. The municipality has restructured their engineering department to now include a second department responsible for the environment and climate change. This department is responsible for the treatment plants and compliance with the Nova Scotia Environment and Environment Canada. The original Engineering and Public Works Department is responsible for the linear infrastructure outside of the treatment plants. The addition of this department and the reallocation of the finance and clerical staff out of support services results in an increase to the wages and benefits line on the operating budget of $115,900, or 49.8% increase over last year. While this is a substantial change to the budget, upon review it was clarified by county staff that it equates to 0.95% of a full-time position charged to the regional sewer system, which, considering the size of the plant, is a reasonable allocation. The budget implication is the finance and engineering departments will bring our own 2024-2025 sanitary sewer area budget to council for approval later this spring. An increase in sewer rates is expected to keep up with the ongoing increases in the regional operating budget and capital expenditures, and our own increasing operating and capital costs to maintain our sanitary sewer system. There are some attachments, and they would have been included in the documents in preparation for this meeting, and it's the proposed 5-year capital plan that illustrates operating and capital breakdown and percentages of partners. So the recommendation is that council approve the 2024-2025 regional sewer operating budget in the amount of $2,500,000, of which the Kentville share is $1,031,200, my apologies, and further broken down by capital contribution at $313,100, which is 45.43% of total capital, and further operating contribution at $718,000, or 54.75% of the total operating budget. I so move.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Councillor Gerard, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the 24-25 regional sewer operating budget in the amount of $2,500,000, of which the Kentville share is $1,031,200, and further broken down by capital contribution at $313,100, and further operating contribution of $718,000. Is there any discussion on this matter? There being no discussion, are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the 24-25 regional sewer operating budget in the amount of $2,500,000, of which the Kentville share is $1,031,200, and further broken down by capital contribution at $313,100, and further operating contribution of $718,000. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you very much. All right. Now this takes us to the naming of the Kentville New Minas Dog Park. CAO, did you?
Thank you, Your Worship. The naming committee has put forward the name for the New Minas Kentville Dog Park, or Kentville New Minas Dog Park. as being Marshview Dog Park. If there are any questions, the deputy clerk would be happy to answer them. If not, we would be looking for a motion from council to so name.
All right, thank you very much, CAO. So we'll start from that recommendation with a motion to get it on the floor that council approve the name Marshview Dog Park for the Kentville Dog Park. Someone move that, please?
So moved.
Deputy Mayor, thank you. And the second, Councillor York, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the name Marshview Dog Park for the Kentville Dog Park. Is there any discussion on this matter? Councillor York.
Thank you. In the discussion, you'll note that it says that the signs would be translated into the spoken languages in our area. Although I do want to point out that Egyptian Arabic is the most common spoken version of Arabic, but I think for writing, it would be modern standard Arabic. And just as a note, because that's used most often for business, personal, written language. Thank you.
And I think we also need French there, since there are more French-speaking than any of the others, according to our last census data. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the name Marshview Dog Park for the Kentville Dog Park. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, and the next matter is regrets for the April council meeting, Council Advisory Committee meeting. Mayor Snow has provided regrets for her absence at the April 8th CAC meeting. Deputy Mayor Savage will chair the meeting in accordance with the MGA. All right, and that brings us to our next matter, which is the Joint Fire Services Committee recommendation, and Councillor Gerard, as the chair of that committee, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The town of Kentville and the municipality of the County of Kings share a 10-year contract with the Volunteer Fire Department, KVFD, and are members of the Joint Fire Committee. The current contract with KVFD expires on 31 March 2025. It is the recommendation of the members of the Joint Fire Committee that the town of Kentville serve a 1-year notice to the KVFD that the current contract will not be renewed. Renewal of a new contract should be negotiated and in place to ensure a seamless transition of service. So the motion I would make would be that council direct the CAO and mayor to write a letter of notice to the Kentville Volunteer Fire Department to terminate the current contract on 31 March 2025. It is further recommended that the council direct the CAO to work with the County of Kings CAO to determine the path forward. Respectfully submitted, Craig Gerard.
All right, so if you could move your motion to direct the letter?
I so move.
All right. Councillor Zabian, thank you. As a member of that committee, we appreciate your contribution. It has been moved and seconded that council direct the CAO and mayor to write a letter of notice to the Kentville Volunteer Fire Department to terminate the current contract on 31st of March 2025. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. So I have not reviewed the 10-year contract that's between the town of Kentville and also the municipality of the County of Kings. So I guess the spirit of this is that over the next year, work would be done between the town of Kentville and the municipality of the County of Kings to revamp the agreement, amend the agreement. Can we just talk a little bit about that through the chair? Sorry. Yep.
So this contract, and I've got a copy of it, so I can supply all of council with a copy of it. This is no different than a lot of the other intermunicipal service agreements that the town entered into 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Times have changed, budgets need to change. It's basically what we're doing is just formally putting in our notice that probably should be done anyways at the end of a contract to say, we're no longer gonna use the current contract. but over the next year, we'll sit down and discuss a way to move forward into a new contract. Yeah.
That's great, that helps, thank
All right. CAO, did you wish to add to that?
Through you, your worship, in discussions with the fire service, both sides acknowledge that there are pieces of the contract that the other isn't following, so in some ways as well, it's a good refresher, so when you do come up with a new agreement, it's a new start or a baseline, so.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to direct the CAO and mayor to write a letter of notice to the Kentville Volunteer Fire Department to terminate the current contract on 31 March 2025. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. And further to that recommendation, we have another motion that council direct the CAO to work with the Kings County CAO on the joint fire contract.
So moved.
Councillor Zabian, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Gerard. It has been moved and seconded that council direct the CAO to move
Long day.
to work with the Kings County CAO on a joint fire contract. Is there any discussion on that matter? Deputy Mayor.
Through the chair to the CAO, presumably the County of Kings is also rescinding this?
I'm unsure whether they would be rescinding or not, but they would be part of the discussions as we move forward on any new contracts, so.
Okay, thank you.
And CAO, would we be putting together a committee outside the joint fire, or would we depend on the same folks that are on joint fire to, or have you looked that far into this matter yet?
I would start with a discussion with the county CAO and then be in a better position to come back with a recommendation.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. If there's no further discussion, are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to direct the CAO to work with the Kings County CAO on the joint fire contract. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Our next matter of business is with regards to first reading of deed transfer tax. The recommendation, staff prepared a memorandum to council outlining the implementation of deed transfer tax. Additionally, during our capital investment plan discussion, the deed transfer tax was highlighted as a means of funding our capital investments through revenue rather than debt financing. So the motion would be that council approve first reading of the deed transfer bylaw. Go ahead, CAO.
Through your worship, just for clarity, because I spoke to Mr. Mattard before the meeting, there is some concern about the mechanism to change the rate and whether that could be changed by resolution or whether it had to be changed by bylaw. When we bring it forward for second reading, if there is an amendment that's required, we would bring it forward at that time. And both Mr. Mattard and I agree that that would be an appropriate way to deal with it if council's in agreement.
All right, thank you, CAO. Is there anyone interested in moving this motion? Thank you. And for a second? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve first reading of the deed transfer bylaw. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Worship, through the chair to the CAO. So just so I'm clear, the percentage piece will be the piece that would be discussed during second reading. Can you take us a little bit through the process? Obviously, this is first reading, then we would have second reading. And can you just talk a little bit? It's just fast.
Sure. So first reading just basically puts it on the table.
Right, okay.
Then there would be an advertisement that would have to go out to the community that there would be second reading. Community can provide their comments. Then second reading would occur. There would be a presentation from administration at that meeting, and council would debate and council would make a decision if it was supportive or not, and the rest would follow any other standard bylaw process. But this first reading simply puts it on the table. It generally isn't a point where there's discussion or anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you, CAO. Is there any further discussion on this matter or questions? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve first reading of the deed transfer bylaw. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move now to our reports since we have time. Time is on our hands. So Councillor Gerard, you're first.
Oh, I gotta get back here. Okay, short and sweet again this month. March 22nd, Police Commission, which Chair York had a really good, so in the 7 years that I've been on, or 6+ years I've been on the Police Commission and dealt with the DOJ, Department of Justice came and did a presentation, best presentation I've ever seen, most informative of all of them, and we've been asking for them for years. March 21st, we had joint fire services, which everyone showed up to. Thank you very much to the rest of council for coming to that. And then March 20th, I attended the community meeting at the fire hall. That is my report.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Huntley.
Thank you. No monthly meetings, actually, on one end, but on the other end, there were a lot of FCM and other meetings that I attended, and they're all listed there. There's two things I just want to draw attention to. One was I had the opportunity to go to Ottawa and speak to the status of women on women's economic empowerment, and that trip was fully funded by the status of women. The other piece is I am working with the Valley Wren and Nova Scotia Apprenticeship Agency for an info session on April 5th. It will be held at Kentville Fire Hall. That's for people who are looking for a new path forward to a career, looking for businesses, contractors, developers who would be interested in hiring apprentices. And it's all about information. And I'm hoping that there'll be some schools attend as well for some of the students. And right now, it's starting to ramp up with some activities. So I hope if you get time, you'll pop in on that day. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I will condense this as much as I can. February the 26th, there was a public hearing with regards to MPS amendments. March the 7th was regional sewer, which we just went through. They're proposing the operating capital budget 5-year. March the 7th and the 20th, I've combined. I had a special meeting for KBC and then a regular board meeting of KBC. And I have attached to my report there the agenda and the minutes from the last meeting. March the 13th was Investment Advisory Committee, just where I just comment a little bit about we're somewhat back to a soft landing in 2024 from an investment perspective. Funds in the amount of $460,000 will be transferred over to the op budget. And I just made mention there that the Bank of Canada is being patient to allow inflation to take its time dipping downwards. The wish is to have a stable inflation rate at 2%, and there's a probability, don't quote me, but that we could see some rate cuts in June of 2024, and our investment portfolio shows just around $13.4 million. March 8th went to International Women's Event put on by Councillor Huntley, or I guess in Paula Huntley. Regional sewer again on Feb 22nd, and March the 20th was a special council meeting. I attended a variety of different events. I wanted to say a special thank you to Jennifer and staff for the Pizza and Politics that was put on Feb 29th. It was excellent. It was well attended. We had a great panel of speakers, so I think a lot of people who attended took great learnings from that. Different meetings with residents and meeting at the Kentville Volunteer Fire Hall with respect to the Tiny Meadow housing, and I think that's about it for me for the month. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor York.
Thank you. As Councillor Gerard had alluded to, we had an excellent presentation from the Department of Justice at our most recent Police Commission meeting. It outlined the work that needs to be happening by boards sort of starting in the next couple of years. Much of that work, very fortunately, we were already well ahead of the curve on, so I give kudos to the board for being able to sort of see the writing on the wall and then start acting on it now while we can and while we're able to do it. So that was reassuring, and it should be noted that that work is being led by the citizen engagement, or sorry, the citizen appointees. So I commend them for the work that they're doing. I seem to have been confused on March 8th. It wasn't a names list committee, it was inclusion and access, and it did happen. It wasn't postponed retroactively to the 29th. My apologies on that. That is just a sloppy job on my end, so my apologies. I was able to, from that naming committee though, from February 29th, Councillor Maxwell, who isn't here this evening, but she proposed using the naming committee as an opportunity for community engagement, and I am excited for her to be able to speak to that a little bit later, but if you have a chance and want to, you should reach out to Councillor Maxwell and ask her about her idea, because it was awesome and I'm really excited about it. That was cryptic, but it is exciting, and it talks about naming assets and community engagement, so it's super fun, and it was something that she came up with that I think is worthy of mention, however cryptically. We did the community housing announcement that was, we were all present, that was announced by John Lohr and by Cody Blois in Kentville, with 11 new units arriving. I also had the opportunity to attend the Big Crunch event at KCA with Mayor Snow and Councillor Zabian. It puts pressure on governments to talk about school food. Being the only country in the G7 without a school food program, that's what the conversation was about this year, so thank you for attending that as well. Yeah, succinctly, that was the month.
All right. Councillor Zabian.
Thank you. So I attended all the same meetings that my colleagues did on the 21st Kentville Volunteer Fire Department. March 6th was the Net Zero Communities Accelerator Program. Thanks to Jennifer West for getting us involved in that. March 6th, I attended one of our MP Cody Blois's town hall meetings at the fire hall, and that was interesting. Heard a lot of questions asked to our MP and a lot of issues that folks have, and we do have a lot of problems, but I had to make a comment that night because we do live really in the best country in the world, and that's just a fact. Apple Crunch I attended, as Councillor York mentioned, the housing announcement I was at. And the last thing I'll touch on is March 18th. We were invited to an iftar dinner at the Ummah Mosque in Halifax, and it was great to go. Councillor York attended as well. A lot of great people spoke, and we got to meet the Honourable Arthur LeBlanc as well as a couple of MLAs. So really nice event, and that's my month. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And that leads over to me. So I attended most of the same events as my colleagues. However, I had a couple of other ones that I chose to attend. Research Nova Scotia, again, that's a program through Dalhousie University, and if you get the opportunity to attend their webinars, this one was called Job Burnout, the Epidemic Following COVID, and it was really excellent. They've got another one coming up at the end of April. Also attended VCLA to do a strategic planning session with them. There were 33 community members, and we met with the consultant to finalize the work on that one. On the 12th of March, I was on a webinar with Statistics Canada. There was only 12 of us on it, but we were all, I'm going to say, coming from a different perspective of how we use census data. And I'm going to give a shout out to Councillor York in her former life, how she used to grab the census data and put it in these really kind of cool infographics. And I'm going to say that Statistics Canada has actually created that type of infographics for any kind of data that you want. So, but you have to know how to get there. It's not intuitive at all. So anyway, they're trying hard to make the 2026 census data more accessible to more people. And then on the 19th of March, I was telling you that I had attended an FCM webinar. It was Creative Collaboration for Climate Adaptation, Innovative Models for Community Resilience. And they were really talking about the resilience of our infrastructure and the fact that as municipalities, we need the funding. And we know that one of the things that our provincial government has been talking about is that they really don't want the feds giving us money directly. They would prefer to see it go through the province. However, the FCM is very clear in their actions of getting that money directly to municipalities. So we really have to keep up on that one. On the 20th of March, I attended an event put on by the Grossmoran Institute of Sustainable Tourism, and I attended as a citizen, and it wasn't until kind of the end of it that I got to be the mayor and welcome people to the event. But it was really kind of neat because they were talking about how this institute had been formed. And it was during the Jean Chrétien days, and just after the cod fishery had died, and Grossmoran is a national park in Newfoundland, and there's 7 small communities around it. And apparently, one of the community members went up to Jean Chrétien, and he put his hand out, and he said, I'm looking for a hand. I don't need a handout. And so this institute was born of that conversation. And basically, what they do is they do these projects, 5 projects per year. Well, this year, there were 35 different entities that applied for the project, and only 5 were chosen. And Kentville just happens to be, the Annapolis Valley happens to be one of those projects. And they are so excited about what we have to offer. And so it was a storytelling activity, and how we make people feel welcome. Anyway, it was just absolutely incredible. So I'm just going to say, if you get to do anything with this group, the Grossmoran Institute of Sustainable Tourism, please do it, because they are absolutely incredible. Miscellaneous events on the 22nd of Feb. I attended Jennifer Holliman's book signing. It was, again, one of those very powerful events. On the 1st of March, I attended a special announcement by the federal government for the Nova Scotia wine industry at Lightfoot in Wolfville. On the 9th of March, I attended the NSCC World Skills Dinner at Lightfoot and Wolfville Vineyard. A graduate from the culinary management is traveling to France in September to compete in the World Skills competition. So this was a fundraiser to support her trip. And on the 21st of March, I got to go over to Kings County for the World Down Syndrome Day raising at Kings County. And that is my report. CAO, did you have anything that you wanted to report on from your
I would start just by saying that's a hard act to follow, so next time we'll return to where I go before you.
I lost my place, sorry.
So the last 2 weeks since CAC, a lot of it has been spent on budget. I have been meeting with residents, especially on stormwater and water issues. I think I've been meeting with our CET, Ahmad Qadri, and Director Bell and myself. We either have met with everybody that has requested a meeting one-on-one, or it is already scheduled. So I can't compete with your schedule. I apologize.
Okay, if you ever saw how many meetings the CAO has in any given day, you know that he blows us all out of the water. So there's no doubt there. Thank you, CAO. Did anyone have any questions for the CAO with regards to his report or anything that we were briefed on at CAC? All right, we'll move right along. So we did have correspondence this time around. We had 4 matters of incoming correspondence and 1 outgoing, and as well we had one which was legal in nature, and it will appear the first time that we go in camera as a council. So that is not on this on this agenda. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to make comments, or just a comment around, it would be 7B, response from Kings County Tennis Association. I was reading this morning in All Nova Scotia, I can't remember the name of the company, but they have a pickleball court. They've created one. And they were talking about their membership sales were trending at 160%. Growth over the previous years, and that they have on average between 60 to 70 new members each month. This is in Bedford, and there was discussion in this article around it expanding into the South Shore, into the Annapolis Valley. So just want to acknowledge that I think myself, along with everybody around the Horseshoe, supports the request to move forward with a pickleball court, tennis club court.
All right, CAO, did you want to address that?
Through you, your worship, it
Certainly.
will be on the agenda for the April 8th CAC meeting, and Director Langell will be here as well to speak to his report.
Thank you.
All right, so we're now at the part of our agenda for public comments. So if there are any public comments, you will have 3 minutes. All right, there are no public comments, and as we have completed the agenda tonight, although in kind of a backwards fashion, I would call for adjournment as there is no further business, and the time is 8:30. Oh my God, 6:30. All right, we're headed over to the fire hall.